Have you ever looked in the mirror and wished you could turn back the clock on your skin, feeling vibrant and youthful again? At 78 years old, I did just that by rubbing a remarkable oil on my face every night, and now I look 20 years younger. In this video, I'm spilling the secret to my glowing, age-defying skin and sharing the simple routine that's transformed my life. You need to watch until the end because I'll reveal the exact oil, how to use it, and insider tips to unlock your own radiant, youthful glow, no matter your age. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. For years, I wandered through an endless maze of skincare promises. I tried every anti-aging cream, serum, and elixir the market had to offer. Products with names so complex they felt like incantations, packaged in sleek, glossy bottles that gleamed under store lights, their scents evoking far-off places. Some were so costly they rivaled a week's worth of groceries, their price tags whispering assurances of transformation. Yet, each one fell short. The best I could hope for was a fleeting veil of hydration that vanished by midday, leaving my skin as parched and weary as before. My cheeks remained dry, the delicate skin beneath my eyes felt as fragile as tissue paper, and the wrinkles, those stubborn etchings of time, stayed firmly in place, unmoved by my efforts. The weight of disappointment grew heavier with each failed experiment. I began to wonder if this was simply the inevitable march of age. Perhaps, I thought, the dignified thing to do was to accept it, to embrace the lines and sags as badges of a life well lived. But deep within me, a quiet rebellion stirred. It wasn't about vanity or chasing a youthful facade. No, it was something more profound, a longing to feel vibrant, to honor the years I still had left to live. Those lines on my face weren't just marks of time. They were reminders of stories, laughter, and tears, and I wasn't ready to let them define me as old. I wanted to feel like me again, alive, present, and connected to my own body. One crisp autumn afternoon, while accompanying my daughter on her errands, we stepped into a small natural products shop tucked away on a quiet street. The moment we crossed the threshold, I was enveloped by the earthy scent of cedarwood and lavender, the air soft with the glow of amber lamps. Shelves lined with glass bottles and jars stretched before me, each one labeled with handwritten tags that spoke of care and intention. While my daughter browsed teas, I found myself drawn to a display of plant-based oils, their amber hues catching the light like tiny vials of sunlight. I wasn't looking for anything specific. My days of chasing miracle cures were behind me, but something about those unassuming bottles called to me, as if whispering a secret I hadn't yet learned. The shop owner approached, a woman whose silver hair was swept into a loose bun, her face radiant with a calm vitality that belied her years. Her skin seemed to glow from within, not with the artificial sheen of youth, but with the quiet strength of someone who attended to herself with patience and wisdom. "If I may offer a piece of advice," she said, her voice warm and unhurried, "don't chase magic potions. Your skin is like a living plant. It needs nourishment, consistency, and care." She reached for a small bottle of rosehip oil and placed it in my hand, her fingers brushing mine with a gentle confidence. "I've used this for over a decade," she confided. "It's not a miracle, but if you apply it every night with intention, paired with slow, deep breaths, you'll see changes in a few weeks. Trust the process." Her words struck a chord deep within me. They weren't laced with the exaggerated promises I'd grown wary of. They were grounded, real, and full of quiet conviction. That night, I returned home with the bottle tucked in my bag, its weight both literal and symbolic. I didn't dare hope for miracles. I'd been burned too many times, but I felt a flicker of curiosity, a faint spark of possibility. This wasn't about placing my faith in a glossy brand or a fleeting trend. It was about a simple, intentional act of care, a gesture of giving my skin, and myself, a second chance. At 78, I wasn't seeking eternal youth, but a reconnection with the woman I still was, beneath the years and the doubts. This was only the beginning, and I was ready to see where it would lead. What is this oil, and why is it so powerful? The oil I'm speaking of isn't some rare elixir sourced from a hidden corner of the world, nor is it cloaked in mystery. It's rosehip oil, simple, unpretentious, and yet profoundly transformative. You've likely heard its name before, perhaps dismissed it as just another trendy ingredient in the ever-churning skincare market. I, too, had overlooked it, skeptical of its humble reputation. But when I gave it a chance, I discovered a depth of history and science that made me see it in a new light. Rosehip oil comes from the seeds of the wild rose plant, primarily Rosa muscata or Rosa rubiginosa, found in places like the Andes of Chile. For centuries, the Mapuche women of Chile have used it to heal scars, fade age spots, and soften the signs of time on their skin. I couldn't help but picture these women, their hands weathered by work yet their faces luminous, passing down this knowledge through generations. Something was grounding in that image, a reminder that beauty doesn't require extravagance, only connection to the earth and to oneself. What makes rosehip oil so remarkable is its composition, a delicate balance of nutrients that seem tailor-made for aging skin. It's rich in vitamin A, a natural form of retinol that gently encourages cell turnover, smoothing texture and softening fine lines without the irritation of synthetic alternatives. It also brims with vitamin C, a potent antioxidant that fights free radicals, those invisible culprits that dull the skin and deepen wrinkles. Vitamin C doesn't just protect, it restores radiance, coaxing a natural glow from within. Then there are the essential fatty acids, omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9, which act like a nourishing balm, strengthening the skin's barrier, locking in moisture, and maintaining elasticity. Unlike the heavy creams I'd tried, which sat atop my skin like an unwelcome guest, rosehip oil penetrates deeply, feeding the skin from within without clogging pores or causing irritation. Scientific studies back up these benefits, which gave me confidence in its quiet power. Research published in journals like the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology has shown that rosehip oil can reduce the appearance of scars, hyperpigmentation, and fine lines, thanks to its regenerative properties. It doesn't promise to turn back time, no product can, but it supports the skin's natural ability to repair and renew itself. For me, this wasn't about erasing my age. It was about helping my skin reflect the vitality I still felt inside. What I came to love most about rosehip oil was its simplicity. It didn't demand a complicated routine or a cabinet full of companion products. It was just a few drops, applied with care, night after night. Unlike the serums that left my skin greasy or the creams that stung my eyes, this oil felt like a gift my skin welcomed. It absorbed quickly, leaving behind a soft, dewy finish that didn't feel heavy or artificial. It was as if my skin recognized it, drinking it in with gratitude. Over time, I realized that the real magic wasn't just in the oil itself. It was in the ritual, the consistency, and the quiet moments of self-care it inspired. But as you'll see, my journey with rosehip oil wasn't without its missteps. How I started using it, and my initial mistakes. The first night I used rosehip oil, I sat at my vanity table, the small amber bottle glowing softly under the lamplight. The room was quiet, save for the faint hum of the world outside, and I felt a mix of skepticism and fragile hope. I unscrewed the cap, the faint nutty floral scent of the oil wafting up, and tipped a few drops onto my fingertips. Without much thought, I spread it across my face, expecting, well, I wasn't sure what. A tingle? A transformation. I went to bed, unsure if I'd done it right, but willing to try. Those early days were a lesson in trial and error. My first mistake was overzealousness. Convinced that more oil would yield faster results, I doused my face with generous drops, rubbing them in with the enthusiasm of someone watering a parched plant. The result? A slick, greasy film that clung to my skin, making my pillowcase feel sticky and my sleep restless. By morning, my face looked shiny but not nourished, as if the oil had simply sat there, unable to penetrate. My second misstep was neglecting to cleanse properly. Some nights, I'd skip washing my face, reasoning that since I hadn't worn makeup, my skin was clean enough. But I soon learned that even bare skin collects the day's residue, dust, sweat, and natural oils that settle into pores. Applying rosehip oil over this layer was like trying to water a garden through a tarp. Nothing could sink in properly, and my skin felt unchanged. The third, and perhaps most critical, mistake was my ignorance about sun sensitivity. I didn't know that rosehip oil, with its high vitamin A content, could make skin more vulnerable to UV damage. In my early enthusiasm, I applied it in the mornings before heading out for my daily walk, unaware of the risk. Thankfully, I escaped without noticeable damage. No new spots or burns, but it was a reckless oversight that could have undone my efforts. Frustrated but determined, I decided to approach it with intention. I sought advice online, read stories from others who'd used rosehip oil, and even called the shop owner for guidance. Her voice, as calm as it had been in the store, reminded me to treat my skin with patience. I adjusted my routine. Every night, I cleansed my face with warm water and a fragrance-free, gentle soap designed for sensitive skin, moving my fingers in slow, circular motions to lift away the day's impurities. I patted my face dry with a soft, clean towel. No rubbing, just gentle presses to preserve my skin's delicate barrier. Then, I refined my application. Instead of pouring out the oil, I used a dropper to dispense exactly 3 to 5 drops into my palm, warming them between my hands to release their faint, earthy aroma. I applied the oil with deliberate, circular strokes, starting at the center of my face and moving outward, avoiding the delicate skin around my eyes. I learned to use it only at night, protecting my skin from the sun's rays. This became my ritual, a quiet, sacred moment. I'd dim the lights, sometimes playing soft instrumental music, and let the act of massaging the oil into my skin become a meditation. With each breath, I felt myself letting go of the day's weight, reconnecting with my body in a way I hadn't in years. By the second week, I noticed subtle shifts. My skin no longer felt tight or parched upon waking. It was as if it had been quietly drinking in the oil all night. The fine lines on my forehead seemed less pronounced, and there was a faint, natural glow that caught me by surprise in the mirror. These early changes weren't dramatic, but they were enough to tell me I was on the right path. The journey was just beginning, and I was eager to see what lay ahead. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Week by week, the changes I saw in my skin. For years, my mornings had been marked by a familiar discomfort. The tight, rough sensation of dry skin, as if it were pleading for relief. But as I settled into my rosehip oil routine, that began to change. The first week brought subtle but undeniable shifts. My cheeks, once dull and flaky, felt softer to the touch, as if the oil had begun to quench a long-standing thirst. It wasn't a dramatic transformation, nothing that would turn heads, but to me, it was profound. My skin seemed to breathe easier, absorbing the oil more readily each night, as if it had learned to trust this new ritual. By the second week, I noticed a change in my skin tone. It wasn't lighter or darker, but more even, as if the oil were gently balancing the patchwork of my complexion. Small sunspots on my cheeks, remnants of carefree days in the sun decades ago, began to fade ever so slightly. What struck me most was a newfound luminosity, a soft, natural glow that seemed to come from within, not from any artificial sheen. I caught myself lingering in front of the mirror, marveling at this quiet radiance. The third and fourth weeks brought external validation. During my morning chats with a neighbor, she tilted her head and said, "You look rested. Have you been sleeping better?" I smiled, realizing she was onto something. My sleep had deepened, perhaps because of the calming ritual of applying the oil, or maybe because I was finally treating myself with the care I deserved. The fine lines around my mouth and forehead, though still present, seemed softer, less like crevices and more like gentle reminders of my life stories. The fifth week marked a moment I'll never forget. I was sitting with my 12-year-old granddaughter, her eyes bright with the curiosity of youth. She looked at me suddenly and asked, "Grandma, are you wearing makeup?" I laughed, my heart swelling, because I hadn't touched makeup in years. "No, my love," I said. "This is just how I woke up today." She reached out, her small hand brushing my cheek, and declared, "You look radiant." That simple word, radiant, carried so much weight. It wasn't about looking younger. It was about feeling seen, not just by her, but by myself. By the 8th week, the changes were undeniable. The skin around my eyes, once thin and shadowed, appeared firmer, more awake. The deeper wrinkles hadn't vanished, they never would, and I didn't want them to, but they seemed less stark, softened by the oil's nourishing touch. I began to touch my face differently, with a tenderness I hadn't shown myself in years. Washing my face, applying the oil, even catching my reflection in a window felt like an act of gratitude, a quiet acknowledgement of my body's resilience. The most unexpected gift was emotional. I found myself stepping out more confidently, smiling wider in photos, choosing clothes that made me feel vibrant, not for anyone else, but for me. The little bottle of rosehip oil, so unassuming at first, had become a symbol of possibility. It reminded me that it's never too late to rediscover joy in caring for oneself. But the oil was only part of the story. The real transformation came from the ritual I built around it, a nightly practice that nourished not just my skin, but my soul. The complete night routine that helped me rejuvenate. If you ask me for the secret, I won't point solely to the rosehip oil, though it was the cornerstone. The true magic lay in transforming those few drops into a ritual, a deliberate, intimate act of self-care that became as essential to me as breathing. My nightly routine takes no more than 15 minutes, yet it feels like a sacred pause, a moment to honor myself before the world claims my attention again. It's simple, uncluttered by excess products or complicated steps, and it has become the anchor of my evenings, preparing me for rest and renewal. It begins with cleansing, a step I now see as foundational. Each night, I stand at my sink, the warm water soothing my hands as I lather a gentle, fragrance-free soap designed for sensitive skin. With slow, circular motions, I cleanse away the day, dust, sweat, and the invisible weight of hours spent navigating the world. I imagine washing away not just impurities, but also the small stresses that cling to me. I pat my face dry with a soft, clean towel, careful not to tug or rub, treating my skin with the gentleness it deserves. Next comes a light layer of hydration. I apply a water-based, non-comedogenic lotion. Its cool touch wakes my skin like a sip of fresh water. This step isn't about overloading my face with moisture, but about creating a receptive canvas, priming my skin to drink in the rosehip oil that follows. I've learned that this thin layer helps the oil penetrate more deeply, as if inviting it to work its quiet magic. Then, the heart of the ritual, the rosehip oil. I dispense 3 to 5 drops into my palm, warming them between my hands until the faint, nutty scent rises. I press the oil into my skin with slow, deliberate strokes, moving from the center of my face outward, avoiding the delicate skin around my eyes. As I massage, I breathe deeply, letting the rhythm of my breath sync with the motion of my hands. Sometimes, I play soft music, perhaps a gentle piano melody or the sound of rain, to deepen the calm. This isn't just skin care. It's a moment of connection, a way to thank my body for carrying me through 78 years of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. The ritual ends with a moment of stillness. I sit for a minute, eyes closed, letting the oil settle and my mind quiet. It's a small act, but it has transformed my nights, helping me slip into a deeper, more restorative sleep. Over time, this routine has become more than a beauty practice. It's a love letter to myself, a reminder that I am worth the time and care. This journey with rosehip oil has been about more than smoother skin or a brighter complexion. It has been about rediscovering a sense of agency, of choosing to care for myself in a world that often tells us aging means fading. The oil, the ritual, the quiet moments, they've all woven together to remind me that at any age, we can begin again. And for that, I am endlessly grateful. This expanded version adds sensory details, emotional reflections, and scientific context while maintaining the original structure and tone. Let me know if you'd like further refinements or additional sections. Every evening, as the world quiets and the soft hum of the day fades, I retreat to my sanctuary, a small, dimly lit corner of my bedroom where my nightly ritual unfolds. Among the many steps in this cherished routine, one moment stands above the rest: the application of rosehip oil. This simple act has become a cornerstone of my self-care, not just for my skin but for my soul. It's a practice that transcends the physical, weaving together mindfulness, gratitude, and a renewed connection to myself. I begin by carefully dispensing 3 to 5 drops of the golden, amber-hued oil into the palm of my hand. The bottle, a small dark glass vessel, feels cool and grounding as I cradle it, a reminder of the care I'm about to bestow upon myself. I rub my palms together gently, warming the oil until it feels alive, its subtle, earthy fragrance, a mix of nutty warmth and faint floral notes, rising to meet me. This moment of warming the oil is deliberate, a small act of preparation that signals the beginning of something sacred. With unhurried, circular motions, I apply the oil to my face, moving from the center outward in a rhythm that feels almost meditative. I start at my forehead, where years of furrowed brows have etched fine lines, each one a story of worry, laughter, or contemplation. My fingertips glide across my skin, tracing the contours of my cheeks, where the oil sinks in, leaving a soft sheen. I move to the delicate skin around my mouth, where smile lines whisper of decades spent in joy, and then to my chin, firm yet softened by time. Finally, I sweep the oil down my neck, an often neglected area that carries the weight of years with quiet grace. This process is not merely about nourishing my skin, it's a ritual of presence. As I massage the oil, I breathe deeply, inhaling through my nose, feeling the cool air fill my lungs, and exhaling slowly through my mouth, releasing the tensions of the day. Each circular motion is paired with an intention, to give thanks for the day's small victories, to let go of lingering stresses, to reconnect with the woman I am becoming. The act feels like a quiet conversation with myself, a moment to honor my body and its resilience. There's a therapeutic quality to this massage, a gentle reminder that caring for my skin is also caring for my spirit. This nightly ritual, which takes no more than 15 minutes, has transformed my relationship with time. In a world that often hurries us toward the next moment, these minutes are an act of defiance, a refusal to let time be my enemy. Instead, I've come to see it as an ally, a patient teacher offering wisdom, serenity, and a deeper kind of beauty. The rosehip oil, with its rich blend of vitamins and fatty acids, works quietly to hydrate and repair my skin, but its true gift is the way it anchors me in the present, inviting me to slow down and savor the act of self-care. Over the years, I've learned a vital truth. The secret to transformation lies not in doing a lot, but in doing a little, consistently. It's not about chasing perfection or investing in extravagant products. It's about showing up for yourself, night after night, with intention and care. This routine has become a gift I give myself before sleep, a small but powerful act of love that sets the tone for restful nights and brighter mornings. Since adopting this practice, I've noticed my skin grow firmer, more hydrated, and subtly luminous, as if it's reflecting the care I've poured into it. But the changes go far beyond the surface. I feel more at peace, more grounded, more connected to myself. In a world that often pushes us to rush, these 15 minutes have become an oasis, a sacred pause where I reclaim my time and my sense of self. Yet, as transformative as rose hip oil has been, I've also learned that its benefits come with a caveat. It must be used thoughtfully. Early in my journey, I made mistakes, and I've seen others stumble as well. To help you avoid those pitfalls, I want to share not only what to do but also what not to do, because the path to radiant skin and a radiant self requires both knowledge and care. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. What to avoid when using rose hip oil? Rose hip oil is a potent, natural ingredient, brimming with antioxidants like vitamin C and essential fatty acids that promote skin regeneration. But its delicate nature demands respect. One of the most common mistakes is combining it with aggressive skincare products. In my early days, I was tempted to layer the oil with exfoliants or chemical-laden toners, thinking more products would mean faster results. Thankfully, I avoided that trap, but my friend Martha wasn't so fortunate. Eager to fade some age spots, she found an online recipe suggesting she mix rose hip oil with a strong, alcohol-based toner. For 3 nights, she followed this advice, only to wake on the 4th day with red, flaky skin that stung to the touch. It took 2 weeks of gentle care, and no rose hip oil, for her skin to recover. The lesson: rose hip oil is most effective when used alone, without interference from harsh ingredients like acids, retinoids, or alcohol-based products. These can irritate the skin, cause redness, or even trigger allergic reactions, negating the oil's nurturing benefits. Another critical mistake is using rose hip oil during the day, especially before sun exposure. While the oil is a nighttime ally, its photosensitive properties can make your skin more vulnerable to UV damage. I learned this the hard way early on. One morning, I applied a few drops before a walk in the park, drawn by the oil's luxurious feel. By midday, I noticed a slight irritation on my cheekbones, as if the sun had pricked my skin. It wasn't severe, but it was enough to teach me that rose hip oil belongs in my evening routine, where it can work its magic during the skin's natural regeneration cycle. If you must use it in the morning, Pair it with a broad-spectrum sunscreen and test it on a small area first. Finally, the quality of the oil matters immensely. Rose hip oil is delicate and prone to oxidation, especially if stored improperly or past its prime. Early in my journey, I was tempted by a bargain bottle in a clear container, only to discover its rancid, off-putting smell, a sure sign it had lost its potency. High-quality rose hip oil should come in a dark, opaque bottle to protect it from light, with a soft, earthy scent that feels natural, not artificial. Always check the expiration date and opt for cold-pressed, certified organic oils whenever possible. I store mine in a cool, dark drawer, away from the bathroom's humidity, to preserve its efficacy. Investing in a good oil isn't just about cost, it's about ensuring every drop delivers the nourishment your skin deserves. The deeper transformation. Feeling alive again. When people talk about rejuvenation, they often focus on the visible. Smoother wrinkles, brighter skin, fewer age spots. But the real transformation begins within. For me, rose hip oil was more than a skincare product. It was a catalyst for rediscovering my confidence, my vitality, and my sense of self. At 78, I've learned that beauty isn't about erasing time but about embracing it with grace and joy. I'll never forget the moment this truth crystallized. An old friend, Clara, invited me to her 80th birthday celebration. A formal dinner with live music, elegant dresses, and familiar faces from decades past. My first instinct was to decline. I hadn't attended such an event in years, often hiding behind loose clothing and minimal makeup, convinced I no longer belonged in those settings. But something shifted that evening as I sat before my mirror, rose hip oil glowing faintly on my skin. I saw not just a smoother complexion but a woman who had grown into her wisdom. My reflection radiated dignity, serenity, and a quiet strength I hadn't noticed before. I chose a dark blue dress I hadn't worn in years, its fabric soft against my skin, and slipped on small, understated earrings. As I stepped into the softly lit venue, I felt a spark I'd almost forgotten, a lightness, a confidence that carried me through the evening. Friends approached me, their compliments warm and genuine. "You look radiant," one said. Another asked, "What's your secret?" I smiled and said, "I've been taking better care of myself." It wasn't a lie. The rose hip oil had been the first step, but the real change was in how I'd begun to choose myself. Night after night, drop by drop. That evening wasn't about looking younger. It was about feeling more alive. I laughed more freely, danced to a slow melody, and reconnected with old friends over stories that spanned decades. The change in my skin, firmer, more hydrated, subtly glowing, was undeniable, but the deeper shift was in my spirit. I slept better, woke with more energy, and found myself craving healthier meals, long walks, and quiet moments of reflection. It was as if caring for my skin had sparked a domino effect, touching every corner of my life. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 3 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Beyond the oil, a holistic approach to rejuvenation. Rose hip oil was the spark, but the fire of my transformation came from a broader commitment to self-care. Over time, I discovered that rejuvenation isn't just about what you apply to your skin, it's about how you nurture your body, mind, and soul. One of the most impactful changes was in my diet. I began incorporating antioxidant-rich foods, plump blueberries bursting with sweetness, crisp apples, dark grapes that stained my fingers, and strawberries that tasted like summer. These weren't just treats, they were allies in combating the oxidative stress that ages us from within. I also committed to drinking water throughout the day, not in overwhelming gulps but in steady sips, ensuring my skin and body stayed hydrated from the inside out. Movement became another pillar of my routine. I didn't need a gym or strenuous workouts, just gentle, intentional activity. Each morning, I'd walk for 30 minutes, the early light casting long shadows on the path, the air fresh against my face. At home, I'd stretch to soft music, feeling my muscles loosen and my posture lift. These small acts improved my circulation, eased stiffness, and infused my days with energy. I noticed my skin responded, too, glowing with the vitality that comes from a body in motion. Sleep, I learned, is a silent healer. I became protective of my rest, creating a nighttime rhythm. Light dinners, no screens an hour before bed, and a quiet moment to sip chamomile tea. The results were visible. Fewer dark circles, brighter eyes, a face less weighed down by fatigue. But the benefits went deeper, softening my emotions and sharpening my focus. Perhaps the most profound change was in how I cared for my emotional well-being. I sought out people who lifted my spirit, old friends whose laughter felt like home, new acquaintances who shared my curiosity. I leaned into long phone calls, unhurried teas, and conversations that nourished my heart. At the same time, I learned to release what I couldn't control, adopting a daily mantra. Today, I'll do what's in my hands. The rest, I let go. It wasn't always easy, but it brought a peace that reflected in my face, my voice, and the way I moved through the world. A journey of small steps. Rejuvenation, I've come to understand, isn't about grand gestures or chasing youth. It's about choosing yourself, day after day, through small, intentional acts. For me, it began with a modest bottle of rose hip oil, its golden drops a quiet promise of care. But what followed was a transformation that touched every part of my being. A softening of my skin, yes, but also of my heart, my words, my perspective. At 78, I no longer see aging as a loss. Instead, I see it as an invitation to live with intention, to honor the woman I've become and the years still ahead. Rose hip oil was my first step, a simple gesture that cost little but gave so much. It wasn't magic, nor was it a miracle. It was discipline, consistency, and a quiet act of love, one I offer myself each night, and one I invite you to try. Wow, what a journey we've been on today. I hope you're as excited as I am about this incredible oil that's helped me look 20 years younger at 78. So, tell me, what have you learned from this video that's inspired you? Maybe it's the power of a simple nightly routine or the magic of this transformative oil. Drop a comment below and share one thing you've learned and plan to bring into your life to achieve that youthful glow. If you loved this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more life-changing skincare secrets.